So the vision section. This again is where the developmental journal varies or is different from other pieces of material like this. So we have different sections in it. We have the record of developing vision, and it's into three distinct parts. Developing vision activity cards, and then the visual environment and visual materials for development and learning. So we'll just carry on through this. Yeah, and this section could be used in its own, if it's a child where the mum is not keen to use it for development, or you feel there's really no great need for the development, but you want to be looking at the development of vision, then this is a good section to use on its own. So if you want to look at the record of developing vision, it's after your stage card. Now this is it's adapted for a structured observation of the child's vision, and it's for use by parents and for teachers, and it's not a substitute. Can I underline that, highlight it, put flashing lights around it. It's not a substitute for a formal assessment. It's an observation of where the child is at that point and how they're using their vision. Practical activities are linked to the observations. And if you look at page 4, you see a very good handout for parents, babies, of your record of developing vision. Just some guidelines, guide points for parents when using this. These levels of vision are unique to this piece of material. I don't think you come across them anywhere else, do they?
No, I think the idea was though that would become a universal,
yes,
but it's never
really taken. This was produced by Patricia Sonkson, who was the ophthalmologist on the team, who retired quite a number of years ago. And this is her vision levels. So vision level 1, V1, no perception of light. At that stage, observation, they do not appear to be preceding light. Level 2, awareness of light and large reflecting objects, so you're talking Christmas baubles. Level 3, aware of objects in a quite close area, 30 centimetres, 12 inches. And these would be large objects, 12 centimetres or more. And level 4, awareness of objects less than 12 centimetres on a well-contrasted table. And again, level 4 is not, and this is coming on to Janice's work this morning about the level of vision. The level 4 is not demonstrable, even in fully sighted babies until 5 or 6 months. So you're not going to be seeing this in a 3-month-old baby, whether they've got problems or not. And these are the kind of lures that are used for observation. And again, it's not assessment, it's just observation. I was telling you that I was down at Great Ormond Street and sat in a vision clinic, and I was interested to see the materials that they used, which were these. There was nothing technical used in the vision clinic. The Judo Smarties come out, the Sweetex come out, and Canderels, because Sweetex are smaller than Canderels. And the dangling ball really looked to me as if it'd seen much better days. So these are the materials that they use in the vision clinic to observe what the child is doing with their vision at that point on the day you visit. So if you look after your development record of developing vision, you'll find there's another set of cards. They're called Record 1, Record 2, Record 3, Record 4. And this is how you would mark, or where you keep a record of the child's vision, or how they were using their vision at that point. Are they perceiving, paying any attention to, moving towards? What are they doing with a flashing light, a dangling ball, or a Smartie or a Sweetex? Are they moving towards it? Can they see it? Are they ignoring it totally? And it's all there to be noted down. So these are your records. They don't match up with the stages in the journal, which were stages 1 to 5 that we talked about this morning, this is totally different. So they do not match up. Obviously, at any developmental stage, a baby who is at stage 4 could be at record level 1 in their vision. Vice versa, a baby at stage 1B could have record level 2, for example. So it varies obviously from baby to baby, regardless of their age and regardless of their level of development in other areas. If you move on, you'll get after the records, which are about observation. The very last stage 5 activity card, the next page is developing vision activity card 1. And it starts with the words preparation. Now these are cards for visual promotion of vision. So you're looking at where the baby is at the moment, and you've found out where they are at the moment by using the record of developing vision, whether it be level 1 or V1 or V2, and you find the card that matches up. So if the vision is V3, then you'll go to card 3. And it will give you ideas for activities to develop, to promote vision at that area, at that stage. It goes over the page as well. It focuses on different parts of vision, different aspects of vision, whether it be direct engage, it could be tracking, it could be eye pointing, it could be just visual awareness of visual interest. And there are ideas there for parents to use and for you to use. Remember using this, and for those of you who worked with Dr. Dutton, and Professor Dutton, he was a great one for advising mums to put on very bright lipstick and maybe bright blue eyeshadow so that babies with very limited vision would have an idea of the parts of the face and would try to get, if not eye contact, at least facial contact for communication. It may have been okay for Dr. Dutton to say it. When I said it, they looked at me as if it was potty. Eventually I would get through, but seeing it written down here, this has come from Great Ormond Street, oh, it must be right. So there are a lot of pieces of information like that down here that is super to be able to give to the parents in a written form without having to go through all the little bits yourself and then know what's appropriate for this child at this level of vision. It's there, it's down in black and white, it's done for you. So I find that really helpful to guide parents towards this section.
What keeps standing out to me is the fact that promoting vision and the difference between eyesight and vision, and the fact that some doctors can give such a dark diagnosis, but it sounds like the research shows that it can improve when promoted. I guess my question is, how do you say that to parents without providing false hope or getting in the way of what the doctors have told them?
Well, I've always just said that, yes, you've had a very black picture painted, but it is possible in some children that, and all we can do is work at it at this point, because if we don't, we're losing the window of opportunity, and we have to try and grab this window. If it's there, if it's not there, then that's something we have to deal with. But the more, rather than go around in circles around the parents' emotions, which are important, the more important point is getting across. We have to do it now. This is the only time we've got to do it. And we have to make use of every minute from now on. And if it works out that there has been no progress, then we'll deal with it then. Maybe some of you have heard me telling this before, but the most moving moments in home visits was going to see a wee boy and being asked to go along, and he was a twin. And at this point, I think he was about 10 months. And when I went in, it was a cottage, and in the living room where Mum, the wee boy was there to see his twin auntie and granny, and 2 huge dogs. So managed to get the room cleared of just Mum and the wee boy I was there to see. And while she was doing all that, I was getting out all my stuff, And I had a thing which was around for a while on the pound shops. It was like an ice cream cone, and the top of it flashed and moved around. So this wee boy was lying on a settee, head in a cushion, and I produced it, you see, and I'm just moving it across in front of him and watching what's happening. And Mum came out after having settled all and sundry down, and she just looked towards me as she tried to tidy up a bit, and she said, "Oh, did nobody tell you can't see? You can't see anything, Lauren, you can't see." And I said, "Yeah, well, I got that information." I said, at that point there was no, I said, "But you can see lights." No, I can't see anything. I said, "Well, can I see this?" You know, and it was clear as mud in your eye that he was following this light from side to side, very slowly, but his eyes were moving. No matter where you put it, he found it and he was trying. You know. Well, she burst into tears, rushed out of the room, and Granny and Auntie had to be brought in, and they burst into tears. We were all in tears because this is the first sign they had seen of any useful vision. Now, that was a wee boy who was 10, and the last time I saw him, he was about 4, and he could crawl the length of the room to find the Smartie that was over there. He developed really useful vision. He had lots of other difficulties, but vision-wise, it really developed very, very useful vision. So it had, and I mean, at that point they were told he's blind, and that's it. But I think we've all had children at the point where parents have been told there's very little useful vision when they're young. But it can be done. And the next set of cards after the developing vision are visual environment and visual materials cards. And these are suggestions for an environment for your child. It's a wee bit like when I was starting the video there about the stories, saying to put down a dark cloth. I remember going into a nursery for about the second or third time, and they said, "Oh, we've got nice new tablecloths, which covered every table in the snack area." And they were like jigsaws. Each piece of the jigsaw was a different colour. I thought, how on earth are they going to see anything on that? So eventually got round it. There was one table had self-colour on it. But that's the kind of ideas that are in this about placing toys on dark carpets. If you have a patterned, I mean, I've been in houses where after Dr. Dutton has advised the parents of the visual environment, they've redecorated and recarpeted, and that's without a word of a lie, have you?
Yeah.
They've just gone home and ordered new carpets, new wallpaper, new curtains, everything, but for Dr. Dutton said. So the ideas are in here. They won't necessarily all, well, they certainly won't be as drastic as redecorating, but there's some very good ideas. And that these used independently, if Mum is not interested in anything else in the book, then removing this page and giving suggestions is very useful. One thing I haven't said is these are pretty big tomes, and this is the original, what it looked like. So I can't wait to present that to parents, and that is the way that it was recommended to me at Great Ormond Street. And I saw a set of parents who came in to visit, and they went away with one of these. For most parents, I would think they would be horrified being given that. I would have been. And so I think it has to be introduced. By all means, show them it to begin with, but I would only introduce it, and I've only ever introduced it a part at a time. If you only have one, and what I did when I was in Now Top was we photocopied the whole thing and had a master of each section, and that lay in boxes, filed away, and when you wanted stage 4, and you went to stage 4 and you took a copy of the stage that you wanted and take it into the house to home. But just presenting it a little bit at a time, or the introduction booklet first, certainly, maybe the overview later on. So gradually introduce it to parents.
I think there are two points of view there, because you're assuming that the parents don't want it if you do that. I think you need to give them the option.
Oh, yes.
Because I know that Alison Salt would say that you shouldn't be making that choice. The parents should be making the choice, they should be given it. Personally, I would use it the way that you would use it, after showing them it and say, well, do you want to do that? But I know that that's, they think that it should be the parents that should have it. But like you, I think I would have been daunted if somebody tried to.
Right, so anybody found getting stuck? Who gets the prize for finding it first? We talked at the beginning earlier on about vulnerable areas, but there are also areas where, well, what we call sticky areas. And as you go through, you're bound to see one or two that is where the child is stuck. Areas at most risk in children with visual impairment, and it gives you some ideas and suggestions, and it highlights where to go for more help. So if the child is making progress, steady progress, and then you discover it's plateaued, then it's quite a good idea to look in the getting stuck and see if the area that you've got a problem with is covered. And here are the areas that are covered. And I bet you've come across them in your visually impaired children. Touch sensitivity, sound sensitivity, practical everyday activities, eating and feeding was one that we were discussing earlier with one of the teachers. Language concerns, and it could be echolalia, resistance to adult direction, resistance to change, repetitive behaviours, and learning social and communication. So it's some ideas of where to go next. Very often it will tell you to go back and make sure that the steps that came before it have been covered thoroughly. So it's a good idea just to take a few steps backward and make sure that you've really got the grounding there for the skill that you're looking for. So identify the area that's stuck, check the ideas in the relevant area and stage in the journal. Go back to ideas at an earlier stage. Use ideas in getting stuck to help move the child on. And if you're still stuck, then use the signposts to say, right, I might need some more help here. This child might need to be referred on to a specialist service, be it speech and language therapy or physiotherapy. So the signposts are there for you. And believe it or not, that's you covered the whole book. You've been through every section of the book now. There's nothing you haven't looked at. Maybe not in detail, but you know where everything is. And so the challenges now are how to use it, how to implement it, how to integrate it into your existing practice, how best to use the limited time available. We all have limited time. To find ways to support different families to use materials in a diverse and multi-ethnic society. And how to share the journal information and strengthen partnership working. So it could be that it's something you can see yourself using maybe on a peripatetic basis with parents. And are they going to share this information with the visiting physio or the visiting speech and language therapist, or perhaps it's nursery the child goes to, or it could be the baby minder, the child minder. How are you going to share this? So these are things to consider when you go back to your happy, peaceful life. Have a look at this before you go into the journal and think, right, now I've had a look at it. Yes, I like the look of it. Yes, it's something I think I could use. You may identify a family you think could make good use of it, and then answer these questions yourself as to how you're going to use it.